The NFL has tried to go to great lengths to create some type of hiring structure that seems more equitable. And because the Rooney Rule has been in place for so long, and this type of stuff still seemingly happens, they're going to be really embarrassed. And whether this is a lawsuit that you can win, not even sure if Flores can win it. A lot of legal experts say, boy, that bar is really high to try to win it. What it does is it clearly throws this in the face of Roger Goodell and the NFL's hiring practices and says, look, it's just a sham. So here's my big takeaways on it. Number one, do I think it leads to change whether he wins or doesn't, this lawsuit? I do. I do, because this type of thing is such a black eye for the league. It is such a PR miss for the league. It is so damning for the league that, yes, I believe there will be change enacted because of this. Number two, to act like this is that surprising, I have to say no. I have to say that when I saw this, yes, the text messages are damning, but it has felt all along like in many ways the Rooney Rule just gives token interviews. And that's not what coaches of color want, token interviews. Yes, there's a value to getting in the door. Yes, there's a value to getting in front of the right people. But if those people actually don't have the intention to hire you, so that they haven't really opened up their mind to that possibility, it's really not worth anything except the PR. Except, see, we're doing everything we can. And the reason I say it's not that surprising is because at this moment, Mike Tomlin is the only head coach, the only black head coach in the NFL. Mike Tomlin. Now, the guy's been to 2 Super Bowls, and the Steelers, don't change head coaches. But you can't have a league that's 70% African-American be represented by one head coach that happens to not only have won a Super Bowl, but get asked, hey, do you want a college coaching job? I mean, that's how kind of ludicrous this thing is. And this year, it's been brought to a boil in my mind because there's 9 openings, 9 coaching openings, more than a quarter of the league. And so far, 4 have been filled, all white guys. The next one to be filled is likely the Vikings, Jim Harbaugh, another white guy. Eric Bieniemy's not getting hired this turnaround. And if Brian Flores is giving out this lawsuit, my guess is he knew he wasn't getting any of the other jobs either. So that basically leaves Byron Leftwich to get a coaching job. And if he doesn't, is the NFL going to go 0 for 9? I mean, that's pretty eye-opening. And why does this happen? Look, I can't get inside the heads and the hearts of the owners and the GMs, okay? So I can't sit there and say, yeah, that guy's racist, that guy's racist, that guy's racist. But what I know happens, and this is just from easy observation, is owners and GMs lock in on the guy that they want, and then they just engineer the interviews after that to comply with the NFL. And so Brian Daboll's a hot coordinator. The Bills' offense has been really good. Josh Allen has become a superstar. So Daboll's a hot commodity. The Giants hire his GM, his assistant GM, Joe Shane, and that's the guy that they want. And they don't really care about anybody else. That's the guy that they want. And therein lies this problem, not only to me with race and the NFL, but hiring in general in the NFL. We've done this on the flip side, not a black or white, but a good-looking and young. The whole Sean McVay thing. That everybody in the NFL wants Sean McVay. And so young offensive coordinators who are completely unproven keep getting jobs, right? And so GMs and owners, I think, put a vision in their mind, and then they engineer around that to get that guy. And there is the problem, is that vision amongst 32 white owners and largely white GMs have a vision in their mind of a white head coach. Whether they're doing that consciously or not, that's their vision, that's their idea, and they're not really being all that open-minded about it. And I think you can go back, remember when Raheem Morris was hired with the Buccaneers. This was the opposite. I think the Buccaneers and other NFL owners were looking for the next Mike Tomlin. Mike Tomlin had just gone to the Super Bowl and won it in 2008. The next season, the Buccaneers promote Raheem Morris when John Gruden was fired. And they were looking for, and you heard, he could be the next Mike Tomlin. Remember, just 3 years earlier than that, Tony Dungy had won the Super Bowl. Tony Dungy, defensive backs coach, had become a defensive coordinator. Mike Tomlin, defensive backs coach, had become a defensive coordinator. Raheem Morris, defensive backs coach, had become a defensive coordinator. In their mind, at that time, you had owners going, well, I need the next Mike Tomlin. And today you have, I need the next Sean McVay. I just think this whole thing is so rigid that these owners and GMs get it in their mind, I want that guy, and then they're not open-minded about anything. If you're a person of color, if you're a black coordinator, a black assistant coach in the NFL, you're obviously frustrated and validated in that. Because the league has 32 head coaching jobs right now, and you got one of them. And so you're going, I can't get one of those jobs. And Brian Flores went 10-6, and then won 9 games, 9-8, and got the zig. Well, not a lot of patience there. Jim Caldwell went to a Super Bowl and then went to the playoffs twice with the Lions and can't get another head coaching job. Eric Bieniemy's a coordinator for the best offense in football for 5 years. He can't get a head coaching job. Then you see unproven guys like Daboll, like Eberflus, like Hackett get jobs this turnaround. So it's totally valid to feel like you've already lost the race if you're an assistant coach of color in the NFL. It's completely valid because the guys that have succeeded are not getting other head coaching jobs. Adam Gase got an ex-head coaching job. Jim Caldwell can't. The guys who seem to be really qualified keep getting turned down, Bieniemy. And the guys that are completely unqualified to what we know as a head coach are streaming in the door. The young, white assistant coaches. So the thing is broken, and what I hope the Flores thing does is really forces the NFL to take a cold, hard look at their reality. I think their intentions are good. I do. Whether that's for PR purposes or not is, I don't know. The intentions, though, are good. Trying to diversify their workforce. And the intentions have been, I think, also married with some good ideas. Really, I do think the NFL has had some good ideas, like rewarding front offices and organizations for hires of people of color that get promoted and go elsewhere. In other words, if you promote from within and have a pro scouting director, and he moves up to assistant GM, and then another team poaches that guy, and he's a person of color, or she's a person of color, you get rewarded with draft picks. So you're rewarded for elevating people within your organization. You're the most familiar with them. Great idea. Great idea and concept. But the execution of this is not happening. So the NFL has to take this long, hard look, and it is clearly a problem. You can't deny it. That's clearly a problem. I mean, if the NFL goes 0 for 9 and you've got absolutely qualified assistant coaches in Byron Leftwich, in Raheem Morris, in Todd Bowles, in Eric Bieniemy, and a guy out there in Brian Flores who just was a winner the last 2 years in Miami that hadn't been done with the Dolphins, 2 winning seasons in a row since 2003. If all of these guys can get shut out with 9 openings, yeah, you got to really look at what's going on here. Yes. What a day in the NFL, huh?